It finally happened. After 11 episodes, we can now officially call this show Harem in the Labyrinth of Another World because, yes, Meikyuu finally technically has his harem. Now, granted, I don't know, you can't really officially say until, Sherry does like him or they do something that would be haremish, but still, he's acquired two girls now, so... I just find it funny. Like I said, it's just similar to the whole rent-a-girlfriend thing where it's like forever before you finally get that one girl that you were waiting for. I just wanted somebody else besides Roxanne. And it definitely already feels like we're getting a little bit of that chemistry that I've been wanting. Again, my whole game here, yes, we all know what we're coming here for. But honestly, from an enjoyable perspective of the show itself overall, this is what I'm waiting for. A chemistry to actually be injected into the series. And I think Sherry so far is sort of doing that. I mean, now, granted, Sherry, for the most part, is being what she is in this world. She is forced servitude. So she's not going to be a tsundere or something like that. She's going to do exactly what Roxanne did. She's going to go through all the, oh, what? He could do that? Oh, wow, he could do that? And then Roxanne's standing there pretty much going, yeah, I know, girl. I know. I went through this too. You're gonna go through it too. You're gonna experience everything that Meikyuu can do, and you're gonna go, Sugoi, you can really do that. And they're gonna say, oh, don't worry about it. It's a secret. Don't tell anybody. But still, it is an added chemistry. Now you technically have the whole chemistry of Roxanne basically not really explaining things to Sherry, but kind of easing Sherry's mind as she's going, wow, this is crazy. But no, interesting episode. They pretty much opened up implying that Meikyuu, in merging this other guy's gem into his, that he acquired a yellow gem. Now, I don't know exactly where he was at before he applied that gem, but my assumption here is that they're implying that placing that other guy's gem into his, that he probably got that multiplier added to it, which is kind of interesting. Having somebody else's, like... essentially bank account, and you bring it to your bank account, and oh yeah, by the way, there's a multiplier into it, so it just increases exponentially. But yes, additionally, that he acquired this skill crystal, so he wants a dwarf. Which is the point that he brings up to Roxanne, hey, I want to go to Alan's place. She's like, oh, really? Why? Oh, well, I want to make a will. Which makes sense to me, honestly. I do like how it kind of has it go back and forth between the two of them. Meikyuu wants the best for Roxanne. He knows that eventually I could possibly die. And then on the other side, from her perspective, it's her feeling as if him doing that means that she's inadequate. That she's a warrior. I'm going to protect you. If you do that, that makes me feel as if I'm not going to be able to protect you, which I think is, yes, one of those aspects that you do agree, but at the same time you can't. I mean, similar to what Meikyuu says, yeah, but even that aside, I could still die from an illness. Well, I'll find a cure for it. Okay, fine then. I think he still should have done something on the side with Alan without her present. Because it is an aspect of, yes, he does want to take care of her, and literally anything can happen. Most people in our world don't really think about that until the last minute, because they believe that, that's not going to happen to me, everything's going to be fine, until it actually happens. But yeah, so we get the trip to Alan, and Alan explains that, yes, I can get you a dwarf, but they're kind of rare. Now, this is an interesting thing, because it does note the idea that, kind of going back to what they mentioned earlier about the blacksmiths, that, yes, there's a lot of blacksmiths that will claim they achieved an enchantment, but then they'll trick you in some way. It's hard to find a dwarf that you can actually trust. But additionally, what Alan really emphasizes is on the idea that you do realize this fails a lot. So a lot of essentially dwarves that are in forced servitude don't go blacksmithing because they know that that's like a terrible experience with their master. Their master will acquire them. They will have them do their blacksmithing. It'll keep failing because it fails a lot. And then that creates this really terrible relationship between the two of them. Just this mental image of somebody acquiring a blacksmith just to go, yes, make me the best weapons ever. And then they constantly fail. They would become like the outcast of that. Because you invested all that money into them, and they're doing nothing but destroying your stuff. I can totally see that. But he does agree that they're really good for the front line. So he does have one. He has one available, which is Sherry. Brings Sherry in. I like at this point where Meikyuu looks to Roxanne like, well, what do you think? I mean, do you think we should bring this girl in? I mean, do you think we should bother? And Roxanne's like, why not? Bring her in here. I mean, the worst you could do is say no. I mean, he's like, well, yeah, I guess that's true. We could do window shopping. But it was cool because you see Alan in the background he looks a little shocked, like, So he's asking her opinion. I mean, he would probably already see that this is a different relationship than usual, just based on the fact that she's sitting next to him. But that's when they bring in Sherry. Sherry, who is claimed to be 16. It seems like Roxanne believes that she's not, because the fact that her ears are so thin, which Alan later apparently claims that, well, that's just because she was born that way. It does seem like based on her card, her identification card, she is 16. So it's kind of one of those things where it almost feels weird they are going out of the way to mention the idea that her ears are so thin. I mean, is it just a aesthetic thing? It was a really weird tangent when it doesn't technically matter because she's just an oddity. This is where we get really deep in the woods on exactly what Sherry's issue is with blacksmithing. Apparently, she reached Explorer level 10 and said that she failed to become a blacksmith. Now, as it seems to kind of explain it going on, is that apparently dwarves that are really good at exploring labyrinths eventually will reach 10, and if they're good enough at exploring these labyrinths, they can become a blacksmith. And apparently it seems as if she's doesn't have the aptitude for that, so thus she fails at blacksmithing and fails at being an explorer. So basically, she herself is feeling as if she's inadequate for both roles. Now, this brings up the question of, okay, and here's kind of the interesting thing, and I do personally appreciate this about the series, is that it always likes to play in the gamification aspect of this world itself, that he has all these prompts, he has all these jobs that he can switch out. It's a very much a JRPG kind of feel to it. But they've always kind of explored this concept that obviously he does really interesting things with his jobs and his skills and everything that break the norms. That's why he's always constantly having to tell Roxanne, keep it a secret. Yes, I did this, but keep it a secret. We're going to change these jobs, keep it a secret. Hey, we're going to punch things to get monk, keep it a secret. Nothing really makes sense to the world itself. If somebody becomes a monk, they become a monk. If somebody fails to become a blacksmith at 10 Explorer, they fail to become a blacksmith. He sort of questions well, does that mean you can never become a blacksmith? Well, that's when the blacksmith guild brings you in, you're level 10 and you become one. I mean, that's how it works. It doesn't make any sense that it would work any other way. But from our perspective, us knowing, similar to the whole situation with the monk, is it just that the world itself accepts what's kind of given to them and they don't see the bigger picture, or at least the data that he sees? So yes, my mind immediately kind of went in the same route as he did. The moment that she said that she uses a spear in the battlefield, I was thinking, oh, what about a hammer? Sure enough, she says them all. Well, have you ever killed anything with a hammer? No, I've never done that. Well, maybe it's similar to punching things to get monk. Maybe she just needs to hit something with a hammer and kill it, and boom, blacksmith. It is sort of funny. Like I said, it in their mindset, in the people of this world, it's just, well, that's supposed to just happen. You achieved this thing. You punched this many times and you did this. And the idea of having multiple jobs is completely an oddity. And similar to what he was saying, is people having multiple jobs. You ever heard about that, Sherry? And Sherry's like, in myths, they say that gods can have multiple jobs. Well, you can think of me like that. It's like, yeah, but they're myths. But going back, no, we had the negotiation process, and he manages to get Roxanne out of the room so that he can talk about the fact that, yes, Sherry's a shoujo. She's never done it before, so that makes her more special. But Meikyuu does haggle this time. I think he did a really decent job of it wasn't really they haggled really well. He just kind of just sat back and let Alan keep bringing it down. At some point he kind of points to the idea that it feels like Alan was just trying to move her quickly. Again, it's probably me overthinking Alan way too much. The idea that he probably does see that Meikyuu is a good person to give these girls to, but at the same time, Sherry could be in Alan's mind as a businessman, as a obviously successful businessman at what he does. Sherry could be something that only has so much shelf life. Like, there's not going to be many people that want her. If, again, technically from her perspective, she's a failed explorer, she's a failed blacksmith. What else does she have other than, yes, honestly, sadly, just her body? And so he may want to push her out quickly because he just doesn't see anybody else wanting her. But yeah, it was funny. He was like, 300. Well, okay, no, 250, but that's as low as I can go. And then he's like, well, I'm throwing some clothes too. It applies discount. It doesn't make sense to the realities of an actual world. It does make sense to a gamified world, but it's just like, he literally just said 250 is the lowest I can go. Well, throw in some clothes too. All right. 177, it's a deal. It doesn't make logical sense. And he doesn't even think about it. Like, Alan doesn't even acknowledge the fact that he just gave a huge discount because it's just in the rules. It kind of takes you out of the idea of this being reality and kind of puts it into the idea that these are all NPCs. Anyhow, we'll see if next episode, if they acquire the blacksmith job. I'm assuming they're probably going to go out in dungeon. I peeked a little bit into the manga version of it, and it looks like they're going to do some dungeon crawling, bath scene, and some other stuff at the very end. I'm really curious as to what they're going to leave this at. Like, honestly, unless they skip forward, and again, I think they're doing the light novel, not the manga. Unless they're going to skip forward, this is going to be a very, very anticlimactic season. Like, literally, like I said, it based on the manga, again, it could possibly leave on them just going out, getting gear, going to the dungeon, cleaning themselves up, and then end. I don't know if they're probably going to have a TV broadcast of Sherry in the bed. I mean, they could, but I'm probably assuming that's going to be in the OVAs. But either way, there's like no climactic thing here. Like, this is just literally going to end with, let's get Sherry gear and go out to the dungeon. Peace out. I know that like several chapters later, I think they fight something really big, but I don't think they're going to get to that. That's only one episode unless they're going to skip everything in between there. But either way, I don't know, decent series, and we'll see where it kind of concludes at. But that's my thoughts on episode 11 of Isekai Harem, or Harem in the Labyrinth of Another World. Hope you guys enjoyed this video as always. If you did, make sure to hit that like button down below, comment, let me know what you thought of the episode. I just realized we're wrapping up the season. I have so much stuff to do. It's scary. What did I drop on? Subscribe to the channel if you're not already. I do news reviews, first impressions. If it's anime, it's pretty much here. I do reviews of all the shows of the season, pretty much all of them. Additionally, if you want to support the channel more, we have a Patreon link, a tips link, and a super thanks button down below. I greatly appreciate everybody that supports us, and y'all take care.